Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. It's a dynamic duo, not the troublesome trio, because unfortunately Anthony is ill. He's fallen ill. It's that time of the year, so it's gonna be myself and David, and hopefully we're enough. Hopefully we're enough. Be a live Q&A. Looking forward to getting into it. David, how you doing, my man?
Yeah, I'm doing good, doing good. In a different location today, but hopefully I'll bring my insight.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. Should be a fun one, to be honest. I'm looking forward to getting into all your questions. So I can see people already getting involved with the questions in the chat. So thank you, appreciate all of you, and thank you as well. I can see a few of you already liking the video as well, so appreciated. We've got Dutchy, Matt, Hosip, MJ as well, Ashley. Nice, all good. Andrea from Twitch, I like that. Yeah, guys, keep getting your questions in. The more the merrier. And yeah, even if there's specific questions that you want asked towards, like Dave, for example, if there's certain players, or I know Dave's done a lot of streams this year so far as well. So anything that you want to point out specifically for him, you can, and I'm sure he'll be happy to answer. No doubt. Otherwise, we'll try and both give our opinions on most things anyway. So. And Gene as well. Gene, 2 a.m. Wow, that's commitment.
That's
Commitment.
intense.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Gene. I appreciate that. Cool. Should we get into it? I think we can
Yeah,
just get into it, can't we? Cool. So Dutch with the first question here says, "Hi everybody. Do you think Sinner is going to keep the winning streak?" Well, that's a good question. I mean, I guess your question really is, do we think that we can win the Australian Open? Because that's not, I don't know if he's going to play a tournament beforehand, but if he does, it'll only be a 250, I would imagine, and he'll have a decent chance of winning it. But look, he goes into 2024 in really good form, so I don't think he could have ended the season any better. I guess the only thing you could say is if he'd beaten Djokovic in that ATP Tour Finals, then that would have been the cherry on the top. But he had beaten the round robin, beaten the Davis Cup, so I think he'll take that 2 out of the 3 matches won against Djokovic in only a matter of weeks. So look, he'll be really happy, and a lot of people very high on him. I'm a little bit, I think Anthony will kill me for saying this, but I'm a little bit reserved on giving predictions on how well he's going to do yet. And the reason why is I feel like there's a bit of recency bias after a few weeks. It's definitely the best level I've seen from him in his career, in my opinion. But I think we just need to hold our horses a little bit until he really makes big waves in a best of 5 Grand Slam tournament. So look, I mean it's all positive though, end of the year. So that's my view on it. David, what are your thoughts?
yeah, I kind of echo the same sentiments. I had a quick look to see you're saying about before the Australian Open if he was going to play. I don't think he's in Team Italy for the United Cup, so it might be just straight into the Australian Open. I think Gil will say the same thing when there's the award show that always be aware of the end of the year. You never know if it's gonna fully pan out the next year. You've got to just keep an open mind that this form on indoor hard courts doesn't always translate. It's all positive. I think it was going to be a step too far in the ATP finals for Yannick, but to then come back in the Davis Cup, that was big. Um, Yeah, I think you have to see it to believe it, really, in the Grand Slams. He made that semi-final run this year. It was good to get there, but wasn't wholly convincing, in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's going to be interesting to see how he pans out because, as you said, like Felix or Auger-Aliassime, for example, had a really good indoor season a couple of years ago, and then didn't manage to replicate it going into the next year. And I think the problem is the momentum breaks a little bit because of the off season. It's not a massive off season. It's not really long, but it's a catch-22 for someone like Sinner because he needs rest because it's been a long season. But at the same time, I would say that he also wants to still play though because he's got the momentum. So it's like, okay, what do you do? And I've seen him training in the off season, but it's not the same. So he's going to just have to take it with a little bit of pinch of salt and look to the longer term rather than the shorter term and say, I want to make sure that I'm fit for the majority of the season. He's had issues with niggles as well. So hopefully he stays fit. I think that's the biggest thing for him. He stays fit and healthy. And if he stays fit and healthy and we see some of that level in the back end of this year now it is still, then he's in pretty. He'll definitely be a contender. He'll be a contender for some of the slams. Whether he wins one or not, we'll discuss that later. Maybe if someone asks it, but yeah, look, I'm excited to see what the year brings from anyway. And Dutchy, of course, with a Canada question. Do you think Felix or Tsitsipas and Denis Shapovalov can get back to the winning ways after an injury-ridden 2023? I'll let you go first, David. Actually, what do you think?
I think it was a good end to the year for Felix. Winning in Basel. He had to win in Basel, otherwise I don't think he'd be seeded for the Australian Open. Not sure if he has to defend many points from. That's the good thing about next year is there's no points to defend really. So he can kind of go fresh. Um, it was a pretty nightmare year for Felix with injuries. Same with Chapo, albeit with some good things off the court. Um, I hope so. I think Felix is going to have to find a different level of consistency outdoors that we've never really seen. But I think with a serve and a forehand that big, he's going to win things at some point. It's whether he can make it like this year where he only wins one tournament, has one big run, or if it's like 2022 where he had the multiple big runs, albeit indoor. Hopefully he can clean up on the outdoor stage.
Yeah, agreed. I think for Shapovalov, I have more hope for Felix than Shapovalov because in Shapovalov's career, he's been very up and down. He hasn't really, in my opinion, gone through many long spells of consistently, just solid performances. There was obviously that Wimbledon run a couple of years ago in 2021, if I'm not mistaken, or was it 2022? Actually, I think it was
2021.
It was 2021, wasn't it? Yeah, it was because 2022
Yeah.
obviously was Nadal in the semi. So yeah, where he actually had a pretty good chance against Novak. I mean, I say that with a pinch of salt, but he was playing some really good tennis, and I'm not saying he would have won it, but he was playing really good tennis at the time, and that was the best chance that he would have had, I think, to really make not just make his move and go really deep at Slam, which he already had done, but more like if he goes deep there, even makes a final. If I'm pushing the boat out here a little bit, and even if he wins it, then that's the type of career-defining run to really jumpstart his career. And I feel like he's been almost there, almost there, almost there. But he hasn't quite pushed on to what people thought he might be able to do. But with his style, it's going to be very hard for him to have long periods of time playing really good tennis because he's going to have peaks and troughs because of just how aggressive and erratic his
He's
style of
so
play is. And
erratic, yeah.
and that's the thing. He is an exciting player to watch when he's playing well because he plays really aggressively. He's going to hit winners, but he's also going to hit a lot of errors, and that's just part of his game. And his serve as well is very big. It's explosive, but he also hits a lot of double faults because that's just part of who he is in his game. And that's not going to change. And the problem is if he were to change it up and become a bit more conservative, he might lose what actually makes him good as a tennis player because I'm not quite sure he has the game to have that more touch, kind of more intelligent type of Andy Murray, for example, esque game. There's not many players that do have that type of IQ to do it. So he's got some natural talents. He just needs to try and get the most out of that. There is this balance to be struck, I think, but yeah, I don't see him going, for example, a year and making it a top five. Can I see him making a deep run at Slam? Yeah, I don't see why not. If he suddenly turns a corner and finds some form, but for Felix, I think he's got more of a chance of having a consistent year, for example. And I'm not saying it'll happen in 2024, but positive result in Basel, as you said. I was glad he won that because indoors he should be winning titles or at least going deep. He's got the game for it. There's question marks around Tony Nadal. Helped him on the clay, but then hasn't really done much else on other surfaces. He's declined on other surfaces. You could say confidence was down the dumps after the Basel win, though. I think he'll take that going to 2024 fresh, and as you said, doesn't have many points to defend. So I'm quietly confident that he will start to pick up some form again.
That's a weird question, isn't it, with
Yeah,
Tony Nadal? I mean, was it a bit
yeah.
of placebo with on on the clay, having those runs, 5 sets against his nephew. I
Yeah,
mean, with Chapo, you're saying about if he can go into his shell and play less aggressive. We saw like flashes of that um, last year, latter stages, but that was, I mean, on indoor hard courts where you can. He had more consistency on his serve, and I don't know if he has the same will to improve as someone like Felix does, which is a big deal. Where if you get comfortable in this game, then you're gonna get overtaken.
yeah. No, I agree 100%. 100%. I think, and so Matt just mentioned Djokovic, and he's a good example. I mean, he's the perfect example, right, of someone who just always trying to improve. And I'm not saying that you need to be that player who's no one's doing that really, right? No one's improving and being so intricate with their preparation and improving that much on tour, and that's why he's the best. But if you can even do that to a fraction of what he does, then you're in a good place. And I think it's funny because I've seen interviews with Shapovalov, and he comes across as someone who is working hard, but I think his coach situation, everything else, it just doesn't seem like, as you say, he's willing to make those tough choices in training and those changes. Like look at Yannick Sinner, who's changed. He changed his serve stance from platform to pinpoint during a season, which is just ridiculous. And there's some technical changes on his backhand as well that he made. But with his serve, it wasn't just a stance, but there's a few like mechanical things as well that he changed, and that is no, you don't really see that. But the fact is, he changed it, and he changed it for the better. And it could have gone either way, but no, he took the leap and said, "Look, I need to improve my serve," and so he went for it, and it paid off. And I'm not sure. I mean, Zverev's second serve, for example, we can talk about that all day and how he just never changed his serve. And yes, it's more consistent now, but when does it rear its head again? Who knows? But yes, anyways, let's not go on a tangent. So questions, Matt says, Fazan, do you think Gauff is a legitimate contender to win back-to-back slams, or did she fall back to earth for the WTA finals? It's a good question. I think I can go first, and I'll get your thoughts, David, on this one. But the US Open hard courts are not quite as quick as Australia. Now, I am quite a big fan on Coco Gauff on. I actually think her best service is a slow hard court or like a faster clay court, like similar to Alcaraz, but mainly because of the forehand, right? I know she has, well, quote unquote, fixed the forehand to some degree, and I think most of that is mainly confidence more than anything. She's trying to I think she's trying to have a shorter take back as well on the forehand, and she's found a bit of confidence on it. She's not running around it as much, and that's great. And that's what we want to see from Coco because she's got a lot of talent. But I do wonder whether the Australian Open. I mean, it depends how quickly they play, but they're normally very quick. How she's going to fare? How's the forehand going to hold up in such quick conditions? Because I'm not sure that, for example, she comes up against a Rybakina or a Sabalenka. Is she going to struggle potentially with the power? She might. But what she does have in her favor is that defensively, generally speaking, she's very, very good. And that's actually one of the biggest strengths in her game is her defensive capabilities and being able to hustle, being able to get a lot of balls back into court. The backhand is super reliable as well. And if she's able to serve consistently well, like she did at the US Open, then that puts her in really good stead because on a faster hard court, then of course she's going to get more free points. So I think it's. I don't want to say it's in her hands because there's some really. I think on the WTA side, especially, I'm really looking forward to the Australian Open because there's some real big contenders for that title, and I haven't even thought about who's going to win it yet. But she will definitely be up there. It should be in my top 5 contenders. I'm not sure where she would be, but that's where she would be in terms of my list. What about you, David?
Uh, yeah, I agree with a lot of things with golf. I know with the forehand, it looked amazing. Those few weeks in the US where just didn't look like much was going wrong. Just hitting winners, it was great. Life was perfect. It's hard to kind of put that in a bottle and repeat it, especially with pressures and things. You're saying about her defensive capabilities. I mean, she can run for days, but it's so hard, especially. I mean, I've watched Sabalenka play a lot, and to produce that kind of defensive display against Sabalenka, I mean, even then, Sabalenka could have still won. Like, 'cause she can still hit winners, when you force her to play balls, you know? Um, especially in the faster courts. Uh, it's gonna be tough, similar to an Iga, I think, um, translating the slower hard courts to faster. Um, I don't think Iga is, suited for the Australian conditions directly, and it's similar for this year's US Open winner as well.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think they can definitely, well, they can potentially win the title, but I just don't think, as you say, it's not their favorite surface. It's not going to be the surface that I don't see Igor or Coco Golf winning 5 or 6 Australian Opens, for example, in their career. I would be very surprised if that happens. They might win one or two, for example, but I just don't think it's their favorite surface. And it's interesting because I say that, but a lot of times I've heard players say, "Oh, this is my favorite tournament to play at," and I've always
Tsitsipas.
yeah, and sometimes I think like, why is this your favorite tournament? Like, it doesn't make any sense like to play it, and the results might not even reflect that it should be their favorite tournament. But sometimes it's just down to, oh, I love the crowd and the atmosphere, and and the country, for example, and the environment, and they just love the general vibe of the place. So I say it's not their favorite tournament, but I'm more torn from a place now. Sometimes it is. They actually love being there. And they're gutted to go out just because they love being in that location. But yeah, I mean, look, I'm looking forward to the Australian Open for the WTA side. As I said, more than the men's side, even because I just feel like there's a lot of people that could potentially win it, and there's always one or two players that come through the last couple of years from the women's side who come out as real contenders as well, or new contenders to kind of try and spoil the party. So that should be interesting. MJ says, "How do you see Osaka and Kerber faring as well as Wozniacki? The mums on tour, yeah, yeah. They look. I mean, it's great to see them all on tour. Great to see Naomi Osaka back as well. What are your thoughts, David? And then I'll come to me. How do you think they're going to fare? I guess Australian Open and beyond.
Well, I'd have to have a look to see how long it's been since Kerber's played. But I mean, the flashes we've seen of Wozniacki, she looks very determined every match she plays. It doesn't feel like maybe a Bjorn Borg comeback early 90s where it's just you don't see much happening. I mean, I think Wozniacki could make another. Do you make fourth rounds U.S. Open? Is it? It was around then. I mean, that's pretty big. First few tournaments back. As for Osaka, I think with her game, how powerful it is. I mean, those power players. We saw it with Kim Clijsters with her weapons. You can come back. You can come back strong. And she's a four-time hardcourt Grand Slam champion. I've been conservative with Osaka winning slams the last couple of years. I'm probably going to stick with that this year, but I think she could definitely another Miami run. I could see something like that for Naomi Osaka.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So yeah, you're right about the fourth round. She made the fourth round in the US Open, Wozniacki, that is. Beat Kvitova Brady on the way to losing to Gauff in the fourth round, who eventually won the tournament. So not a bad tournament at all. And yeah, I agree with you on Wozniacki. I think she could make a quarterfinal. I could even see her making potentially a semi-final. I think it just depends on the draw and who she gets. Kerber will be interesting. I think she's grinding out. I think she was playing some futures, if I'm not mistaken. So, but I know she's obviously now kind of back fully. But if I'm not mistaken, she's been playing the last few months. I could be wrong. But yeah, I mean, look, it's great to see her back. Although she doesn't really have the weapons like Osaka, for example. So she's going to rely a lot on her movement. I think she's the oldest as well of the three. I don't have massive hopes for Kerber in honesty because she hasn't been great for in the last few years, but on grass she's always dangerous. So that would be interesting to see how she is in the grass court season. I saw her live in 2021 at Wimbledon, and I was like, her game is just completely suited to the grass the way that she plays. She just absolutely loves it. Osaka is an interesting one because it's really how is she going to hold up physically? Because we know she's going to have power. She might be a little inconsistent, but she's not going to lose the power that she has, and the timing should be there. I know she's been out for a while, but she's also played tennis for a long time. It's more going to be how she's moving in terms of her footwork, movement. Is she going to get tired easily? And that's understandable. That will be understandable in the first few months, or even 6 months, 9 months. Who knows? And as you say, it could take a whole year. Can I see her winning a slam? No, not this year anyway. Coming up, but if we're going to 2025 and she's made a second week of a slam, for example, one of them, then I'm thinking, okay, right, she might be able to do something here, and it'd be great to have her in the mix as well because we kind of unfortunately missed the Osaka Barty rivalry that I was hoping we were going to get. They kind of didn't really manage to fire up anything there, but and then it was like, okay, maybe it'll be Osaka and Swiatek. When Swiatek started coming up, but Osaka had already declined by that point. She was already having issues, I think, with form. So I'm hoping if you throw in Osaka into the mix of Swiatek and Raducanu and Sabalenka and Jabeur and Gauff and Pagula, I mean, come on, it doesn't get any better than that. It'll just be fantastic. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully seeing her back to near her best. It could take a while, but I'm here for it. And look, it's amazing as well that these women are coming back after having a child and performing the way they are. I mean, they are immense athletes, in honesty. So kudos to them as well.
I I'd say
You
as
know?
well with Osaka, I think that I've lost what I was going to say. But what I was going to say with Kerber was we've got to remember there's another German mum that has come back on tour, Tatiana Maria,
Yeah.
um, someone with, I mean, a
Yep.
crazy defensive will that she made the semis last
Yes.
year.
Oh, Wimbledon. Yeah. Yeah. She
Yeah,
lost to
just
Jabeur. Yeah.
crazy run there, and she's won a couple tournaments like the last couple of years as well. It is possible, but you got to really fight for it.
Yeah. I agree. And it's so funny talking about Tatiana Maria. I was actually thinking of her actually when I was speaking, and you've exactly managed to echo my thoughts on that. Okay, so in terms of the next question, I'm just making a comment here. Caroline Wozniacki was my favorite when she was playing. I hope she does well and adds to her Grand Slam count. Oh, that would be big if she did, but who knows? You know
With
what?
Osaka as well,
Yeah,
I looked recently at it's crazy, 7 of the top 10 highest paid women's athletes are women,
yep.
and Osaka, wait, our tennis players, the female
Uh,
athletes are women, they're tennis players.
the other four are not, but they're on the list. Yeah, no, yeah, no. I get your point. They are. Yeah, because
And
I think
Osaka is, I think, number 1 or number 2 highest paid in the world,
yeah,
and she didn't play like at all. It's
yeah,
crazy that I mean, she's so big for the sport globally,
yeah.
and you just got to have these kind of athletes and names at the top of the sport.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, it's great as well for women's sports generally that that there's so many tennis players on that list. And for tennis, it's great because for men's it wouldn't be the same. Obviously, you'd have your Messi and Ronaldo, for example, from football. But I think for women, it is fantastic. And I mean, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. But yeah, Wozniacki, looking forward. It's funny that you say that, MJ, as well, because when I'm sure she still is, but before she retired initially, she was also my sister's favorite player as well. So I think she's quite a likable player. Right. Okay. Next question. A lot of comments here. Okay. Here we go. Hozip says, "Can we expect anything new from the channel next year?" Okay. I like that question. It's not obviously specifically tennis related. It's tennis related because of the channel. But can you expect anything new? So yeah, you can. I mean, one thing that I guess it's not technically new, but we've started is the topical videos, which are more in the mold of, say, in between, I would say, analysis that we do now and say cult tennis videos. We did one recently, actually released one on Del Potro, which Anthony did, talking about Del Potro and if David wants any topics that he wants to do on it. So they're supposed to be very specific topics. So the Del Potro one's on is a bit broader, but it's more on why he had a tragically brilliant career and going into kind of the nitty gritty of his injuries and his career. And we've got one coming up, which hopefully will be released in the next week or so, which I've done, which is Djokovic 2023 versus Djokovic 2015. So kind of comparing the two seasons, styles of play, and who would win out of the two as well. So yeah, but we've got others like when Nadal was bageled on clay. The times he was bageled on clay, for example, which is a random one for me to do as a Nadal fan, but I did that. I thought that was a really interesting one. And yeah, there's some others on there. We've got Steffi Graf one as well, the first player to win, or only player to win the Canada Slam. I won the Golden Slam because she won the Olympics as well, which is even more crazy. But yeah, we will have more things on, and we're always looking on ways to improve the channel. And if you've ever got ideas as well as subscribers, then I'm always open to it. So you can either send me a DM on Instagram or Twitter, or even just leave a comment on a video, or email, and I'm more than open to listening to. I'm not saying it'll definitely happen, but if it's a good idea and it's something that we can fit in, then we will do it. But obviously, we had a few new things, topical videos plus Tennis 360 podcast with Anthony and Eliza, which I think has been really good. You guys have enjoyed it. Who knows? Maybe David will get involved in something, or maybe someone else will pick up something as well. But yeah, in terms of concrete plans, it's more trying to improve on what we've got and give you guys the best content possible, and then we'll continue to add things when we think it's the best time to do it, and we can give our all to it as well. I think is the main thing. And it says, I saw that new female commentator do an extra match. Yeah, Bianca. So she's jumped on board to the team. She did a trial stream for the next gen. So hopefully she'll be getting involved next year. So I was saying actually to David, and I think I mentioned to David, but I said to Anthony as well that I think it'd be good for us to have some female commentators. I feel like we don't have any, and it's not because I haven't tried. It's just whenever I put out the post, I will only get guys responding. So, but yeah, I thought it'd be good to obviously have someone who knows the tennis, but gives a bit alternate point of view as well, and I think it's always good to have people from different backgrounds. And she's in Canada, which is great. We don't have anyone in Canada at the moment who's living there, so she'll be great. And she will also probably try and apply for. Oh, actually, something that might be new, actually, which kind of leads into what I was about to say, Josep, is actually we're hoping to do more media-based content. So try and get accreditation for tournaments. I cannot guarantee that that's going to happen because we have been accepted to some in the past. We've also been rejected from a few as well. So it really depends on the tournament that we're applying to. And weirdly, the Master 1000 tournaments, which you think would be easier to get accreditation to, are actually harder than some of the slams. So because normally there's less players, the media rooms are normally smaller, and they only accept like a handful of top media outlets. So yeah, that's the plan. To do more of that would be great because I'm going to get more involved in that. Really get the QualityShot tennis name out there, get people talking about us, and make sure that we're represented as well in not just this media but mainstream media as well, so that we can kind of bridge the gap, which would be nice. And Dutch says, "How about the Canadian ladies in 2024?" Okay, we'll get the Canadian questions out of the way with Dutchy, and she'll be happy. So Canadian ladies. So I guess we're mainly talking about Leda Fernandez and Andreescu, I would say. Marino's there as well, but she's not really a top player. Bouchard as well. She's not really anywhere near that at the moment. What do you think, David? What are your thoughts?
What about them? I mean, Billie Jean King Cup champions 2023. I mean, amazing effort, especially um, the the young player. I can't pronounce her name, um, but she really was clutch. I think she's only 18, 19. Won so many matches for Canada. Looking at her very closely in the new year, Layla. I mean, as always, she competes so hard in general, but I think when it comes to playing for Canada, she just leaves everything. She'll die on the court if she has to, which is intense to watch because I think she wants to get close to death at some points. The three setters and things, but I mean, just be hoping for Layla to bring that kind of form into other tournaments because we see it occasionally in tournaments. She goes deep, but um, looking for another one of those Roland Garros runs.
Yeah, I agree. I'm. If anyone has watched the channel for a period of time or ever heard me talk about, you know, women's tennis or see me do a match on, for example, Andreescu, they'll know that I'm a massive fan of the way that she plays. I think a lot of she's got a lot of quality and ability, but it's been a shame with injuries and obviously some lack of confidence as well at times. But I'll talk about Fernandez first because I'll echo the points that David made. Billie Jean King Cup, sorry, even was, I mean, incredible. I mean, she was so good in that, and all I'm hoping for is for her to take that form, as David was saying, and use that and try and channel that for the rest of the tournaments in the tour because she has really good ability. She's got great fighting spirit as well, and she's clearly an intelligent player. And maybe why David likes her so much is because she's a little bit like a female version of Andy Murray, to be honest, the way that she plays. In honesty, she's very quick and agile. She's great defensively. She's very clever with her angles as well. And I think she's a lefty, which is always an advantage. I find. So she's got a lot of things going for her, and she's still very young. So I'm hoping she has a big 2024 and it starts to go deep in a lot of these tournaments now, like she should be, and beating some of the top players. And the start of the year will be important to gain confidence. But as you say, Roland Garros is where you would expect her to do the best. But she's got an all-court game, and that's what's important. She has the ability to do well on service. And people forget that she made the final of the US Open, of course, in 2021. So obviously losing in that famous final to Raducanu, which most random final I think we've ever seen. But yeah, in terms of Andreescu though, I'm hoping that she just stays fit because she's had loads of injuries. She's won a slam before, and if you think about the level that she showed that year when she won her slam was just really high. So I'm hoping she's still very young as well that she's able to start finding that form again because it's been a long time since we've seen her really towards the top of the game, and she's kind of shown glimpses, but then she's had setbacks, so that's been a shame. But we'll see how she gets on, I guess, going forward. Mm, okay, Matt says we'll probably discuss this later this year, but do you see top players skipping Canada and Cincinnati because of the Olympics and the condensed schedule?
Canada definitely, I think, will
Yeah,
be yeah.
I was actually more thinking, which is a bit of a crazy thought, but given that the Olympics is obviously after Wimbledon, and then we've got Roland Garros, whether some players who are not very good on grass might just skip Wimbledon, and
It's like
there's obviously
sacrilege, right? They can't do that.
well, yeah, well, you think so, but at the end of the day, if you don't think you've got a chance of winning it, and then there's obviously those little tournaments, 250s that you can play that little mini clay court swing after as well in preparation for the Olympics, then maybe you think, well, why would I go from clay to grass, which is so different, than back to clay when I can just play through it? Now, obviously, I'm not saying that they should do it, and I personally wouldn't do it, but I'm not a tennis player anyway, so who cares what I think? But I do wonder whether that could be some players thinking. Like, for example, Diego Schwartzman. Would I be surprised if he did that? No. He's got a win percentage of, I think it's like 35% on grass. So I don't think he's going to be that disheartened to not play on the grass, for example. And obviously his best service is clay. So again, I'm not saying he's going to do that, but I would be I wouldn't be surprised if there are some players that do it. I imagine it'll be the ones that the clay court specialists who just don't really enjoy playing on the grass. But yeah, Canada and Cincinnati would be interesting. I guess that would be fatigue after the Olympics, and yeah, I'd be intrigued to see who skips that. But Cincinnati might be less so because I feel like Canada might take the hit because Cincinnati's just before the US Open. That's normally the tournament that a lot of players use to, and then they also use the same balls, don't they? I think as the US Open. I think it's the Dunlop balls, if I'm not mistaken. But there's so many balls on used this year; it's just ridiculous.
Waiting for the question about the balls, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. How many balls there are, and the players complaining about injuries and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy, absolutely crazy on that. So next question. Oh, here you go. Jane says, "How long do you think it'll take Medjedovic to learn to move his feet? When he does, he's going to be deadly." Well, to be fair, he won the next gen finals on moving his feet, so that's not bad going. But yeah, look, I mean, he's not the best mover, for sure, but I'm sure he'll get there. There's a lot of players who are his height who move well nowadays, and I feel like it's almost a must if you want to start going deep in major tournaments. And I only imagine that he's going to improve in that department. But your thoughts, David?
I didn't see too much of the next gen finals, but what I saw of Medjedovic is, I mean, his massive, massive forehand, um, hitting through someone like Fils. I mean, Fils is so athletic; he can go anywhere. Um, I think um, when he comes against bigger, maybe returners that will force him to play +1 forehands from further back, he's going to have to adapt. I mean, I'm assuming that with this next gen finals win, he's not going to rest on his laurels and think, well, this is it now. I'm winning slams. He's gonna now kick on with his team in the off season. Think this is great, but this is just the beginning, and do what some players haven't been able to do, like Nakashima, kind of struck by a bit of injuries, a bit of I don't know, loss of concentration. I'm not sure what's happened to Nakashima this year, but Medjedovic definitely has bigger standout weapons, and I'm sure they'll be working hard in the off season.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. He'll definitely work on. He's got a massive serve as well, Medjedovic. So as you're saying, so he's. It's so funny. There's so many memes about how his name is obviously a combination of Medvedev and Djokovic, but I think he'd be very, very happy to have a combination of those two players in terms of ability. But yeah, we'll wait and see how he gets on in his career. Ashley says, "I wonder if Sinner regrets letting Rune win that fated day." You know what, actually, this is an interesting one because I've seen some people talking about it, and I think actually Eliza said it on the Tennis 360 podcast, and that's what's great about having different people on the channel as well and do content. I don't agree with people saying that, oh, he could just throw the match, for example, or he shouldn't have tried, or he should have tried. To be fair, I don't think Eliza didn't say they should throw the match. She said that he should have just used it as an opportunity to try out different things, like game plans wise, as like kind of a training match, and that's not too bad. I personally wouldn't even expect him to do that because at the end of the day, he's got momentum after winning the first two matches. To then do that is a very dangerous game because he does that and then he loses or he even loses a set. He then goes into semi-finals and he's lost a bit of rhythm potentially by doing that. by changing his type of style a little bit. And in terms of like throwing it, I mean, it's crazy. And I made a comment on X or Twitter, or you want to call it now, that if you want to win a tournament like this that has Djokovic in it, then you have to beat the best, right? You have to beat the best to win. Like you can't expect and try and win with like these trivial tricks. Like it's just silly, in my opinion, anyway, to do it. And I know people are saying it's really smart, and I was thinking, but if he wants to be the best, if he wants to win a tournament, then he shouldn't be scared of Djokovic. And at the end of the day, he'd beat him in the round robin. So it's sort of like it's someone who he hadn't beaten as well. So yes, of course, he lost in the final eventually. Fine. That's not to say though that he didn't have a chance. He did have a chance. He definitely didn't play as well as he did in that round robin match. I'm not saying he would have won at that level, but then in the Davis Cup, he showed that he could beat him, right? So he proved people wrong. So I do think it's very weird that people would think, oh, maybe he shouldn't compete. Like he's a tennis player. It's his job. I don't think he's going to not compete. I've seen people say, well, if he had a bit of a niggle, maybe he can just pull out. I mean, he could have done that, I guess, pulled out during the match. But again, it's not a good look. And also for people paying to watch. Who was it? It was Tsitsipas who pulled out, wasn't it, against Rune after like a few games. I remember covering that. And then the crowd were like, what is going on? Because if he'd pulled out before the match, then someone could have jumped in, Hurkacz, for example, and they would have got a full match. Instead, they saw an exhibition between Hurkacz and Fritz was like, not, he was injured as well. So, they probably were thinking no, it's not great at all to watch. So,
I didn't want to tune into that stream. I was wondering, like,
yeah.
gotta be just with Fritz injured and Hurkacz just.
No, I didn't even cover it. I was like, I'm
Oh,
gonna do it. Yeah. I was like, I'm not even gonna bother doing this. I just knew it was gonna be because it was an exhibition set. I
uh,
mean, what's the point? But yeah, in terms of James says, are they doing two Adelaides again? Oh, that's a very, very good point.
hope not.
I don't know.
Waste of a tournament, isn't it? Really, having two in the same city.
Let's have a look. This ATP Tour. Let's have a quick look. They are not. No. They have one running, which is the 8th of January to the 13th of January. And there's obviously Brisbane as well, which is Rafa's going to be there 31st of December to 7th of Jan. So, yeah, exciting times. You got United Cup,
Crazy
Brisbane.
these December tournaments. I mean, what is going
Yeah.
on?
Yeah,
Is it
there's
the
one in
new
Hong Kong as
season or
well.
is it not? Like,
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I agree. It kind of blurs the lines a little bit, doesn't it?
yeah,
There's one in Hong Kong as well,
not much
250.
rest. Like, if you start, it was I think earlier this year. It was the 28th was the first match in the United Cup. It's like,
Yeah.
what is going on?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And this is, I heard Osaka's aiming for Paris Olympics, but then I heard she has a wild card for the Aussie Open. Yeah, she does. So I think she'll play it. I mean, I'd be surprised if she doesn't, because I haven't heard anything contrary to that. And I'm pretty sure she did an interview saying that she was going to be back at the Australian Open and then try and play a pretty busy schedule, which I guess makes sense as long as she stays fit and doesn't get injured. It makes sense. She's been out for a while. She probably wants to pick up some momentum. Da, da, da. Right. Okay.
So whether she
Or you can.
follows through on
You
that,
go.
if she follows through on her statements about the busy schedule or not,
Yeah.
she's got to. Yeah, it's a quick turnover, isn't it? I mean, to put pressure. I hope she's not putting too much pressure on herself to play tennis again.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's up to her, right? So
Hmm.
I would imagine that she's probably been itching to get back, which is probably why she's coming back. So we'll see how she looks. Well, she looks good on the training videos, but anything looks good to me. That's more than like a 10-mile-per-hour forehand. Adam says, "Don't you think that the fact that a player like Hurkacz is currently in the same class as Tsitsipas is embarrassing for Steph. In my opinion, if you had said that a few years ago, people would have laughed at you. Oh, what do you think, David? What do you think?
Very harsh words, I'd say. But yeah, I mean, Hurkacz, I get where you're coming from in terms of his baseline game being very kind of like you see his forehand is just kind of this whole year mostly been
Bit clunky, isn't it? Yeah.
errant. Yeah, it just kind of goes anywhere. He found some consistency winning of course in Shanghai and things, but still from the baseline, Hurkacz is getting outdone by I mean pretty much everyone. And yeah, Steph Tsitsipas, he's got to find his game again. He's got to find that missing kind of piece that he looked really good in Australia last year, this year, and
He's found the missing
yeah.
piece as Paula Badosa.
But is she doing much in the coaching box? Is the question.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, I kid. If there's any Sidosa fans in the chat, don't kill me. But yeah, I think I do get your point, Adam. What I would say is, I mean, her catch is a bit underrated as well. I think people need to remember he just won Shanghai, sorry, even back in this year, and I was very impressed with how he looked against Djokovic in the Wimbledon match that they played. I think he's a real contender for Wimbledon next year and in the coming years. If he keeps on playing the way he's playing, he's got a massive serve. He's got great hands at the net, really good net game. Transition game's good as well. The backhand's solid, like it's reliable. As you said, David, the forehand can be a bit erratic. He can kind of almost push it at times. It can be very loopy, very spinny, not really get through the court at all, and it's not very harmful. But what he did in Shanghai, for example, was on a quicker hard court, and he just trusted it a lot. He was obviously feeding the ball quite nicely on that forehand side, and it looked a lot better. It's a shot that looks like it shouldn't be as inconsistent as it is, but there's clearly some issues there, maybe with confidence more than anything. But yeah, I mean, look, he's not a bad player. Should Tsitsipas be a level above? You could say yes, but similar to what we were saying about Shapovalov earlier in this Q&A, he hasn't made enough improvements. It's as simple as that. Like he has almost still, and in some people's eyes, he's actually declined in terms of his form anyway in the past year. So look, he's still quite young. He's still got a lot of years ahead of him, and he has notched up some big wins. He's made a couple of Grand Slam finals. He made one this year, for example. People forget that at the start of the year. The Australian Open, he's made one there, one Roland Garros. He needs to keep playing on. He needs to try and keep making these deep runs. And I think if you play someone in the final that isn't named Novak Djokovic, then he'll probably fancy his chances. To be honest, no matter who it is. So let's see how he gets on in the coming year. I'm hoping he picks up a bit of steam because he's got an incredible serve forehand combo. I would say top 5 on tour, and he plays aggressive, attractive tennis to watch. So let's hope he's in full flow for most of this season. He can at least compete with the top guys. We'll see where he ends up.
I'd say they're not too dissimilar as players thinking about it, Hurkacz and Tsitsipas. Obviously, Tsitsipas more reliable from the baseline, but you think of they both like their chances with the net. Very dominant. Maybe Steph. I mean, I think he's got the best transition game in tennis. That's my view at his peak. That forehand he just moves through it so well. And obviously the backhand of Hurkacz. You have the weaknesses of the backhand of Steph and the forehand of Hurkacz, but I think Hurkacz is slowly but surely kind of diminishing his weakness. Steph, you just against any baseliner, you just worry for his backhand if it's being attacked with any sort of
Yeah,
pace. Yeah.
is it going to hold up? Exactly. Yeah, it's true. It's true. When's the shank going to come? Basically, is what we're looking out for. When's he going to shank it? But yeah, I mean, it's weird because it almost looked like he was making strides, especially on the backhand return. by shortening the backswing, but then he's gone back to standing further back behind the baseline, taking big swings. And I just don't understand what the obsession with taking large cuts of the ball is, because he shanks so many backhands throughout, every match. So surely that is an indicator that there's something wrong with the way that he's shaping up to hit it, and kind of how he's preparing. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not an elite coach, so I'll sit here and be quiet and let Patrick Mouratoglou sort that out. But yeah,
He shouldn't be settling for rallies when he's got the
yep,
net game he has, and
yeah,
he's so vulnerable off one ground stroke as he is. I
yeah,
think we saw big wins against Medvedev, big strides. If he just comes to net more, I think, and shortens the backswing, like you were saying, I think there's chances for the true Steph to come out.
crazy. Yeah, I agree. Gene says, thoughts on Nick pulling out of Australian Open 2024, guys. And so apparently he's posted this on his OnlyFans, which is hilarious. It's not the type of OnlyFans that you guys are thinking about. It's just training. So a lot of athletes now have got it, like, which is like a behind the scenes into their life, and like they'll have exclusive like content on, I don't know, their team and stuff. But very bizarre collaboration. But yeah, I mean, I didn't know this until you just mentioned it, Gene. You've obviously got exclusive access because he says I just saw his post on OnlyFans. So Gene subscribed to Nick Kyrgios's OnlyFans, so that's fair enough. I mean, I'm sure he's got some funny content on that, I'd imagine. But yeah, I think I'm disappointed, in honesty. But I imagine it's because he's not ready to play yet. But I do find it a bit worrying that it's taken him this. It's still taking him time to get back, because it's been a while. It's been
We're
a
not
while
getting
since
any
he's not
information
played.
about it either. We're not getting
No, it's not.
updates.
We're not. So I think he played one match the whole of
One
the year.
match in Stuttgart. Yeah.
Yeah, and he obviously lost to Wu Yibing, and it was on grass. So he played one match. And that means, let's just say he hasn't played for a year. Then going into 2024, he won't play the Australian Open. I won't be surprised if he misses Roland Garros, because I feel like he hasn't played the last couple of years, and he did say he would play it this year. But if he's not fit, I don't think he's going. If he's nowhere near 100%, I don't think he'll play it, because he doesn't care much about the clay. So that means he can miss half of the year, potentially 1.5 years without playing any tennis. Really, I mean, what version of Kyrgios are we going to see come back is really going to be the question, and it's a shame because he had a really good 2022, and then it looked like he was potentially going to win a slam, but he was a favorite after, even with Alcaraz in the draw at the US Open. When it came to the quarterfinals, people were talking about him. Like, they're like, okay, he'll beat Khachanov, and then he'll go through, and then he'll be in the final. And then obviously the final at Wimbledon against Novak as well. So look, he made big strides, but there's a real question mark on his body holding up, and that's, I think, a little bit of a worry.
Yeah, and it is a worry. It's disappointing, but at the same time, not surprising. I think there's the other week or so, I heard about Kyrgios not being on the entry list or not signing up for a protected ranking. Uh, I mean, he said he's giving these kind of vague comments about with his kind of lifestyle before, that he's not the age he is. He's physically like 33 or whatever. He said something to the ilk of that, and he's kind of downplaying his chances. So it's I mean, as a tennis fan, you want to see Kyrgios there. You want to see him competing because we've seen at his peak, he can go 4 sets with Novak I mean, at the time, Novak looked unbeatable at Wimbledon. I mean, before Alcaraz did what he did this year. Um, Nick can Nick can go to that level, and I think he can go higher, but is it just a bit too much to ask at this point?
Yeah, I agree. I think the issue for him, and one thing I will say, actually, by the way, before I talk about that, is I thought he was a really good commentator on Tennis Channel, in terms of analysis and everything. I thought he held himself really well, carried himself really well, even, and he spoke very well. So I was impressed with his analysis and the way that he spoke, and he was very likable on that. But yeah, in terms of his game, he needs to be careful because look, I mean, I'm just hoping that we see him back to his best at some point, very very soon, because you throw him into the mix, and he's a tough day for anyone. He's a tough match for anyone on tour, and I'd back him against most of the top guys. Not Djokovic maybe, but even I haven't really seen Kyrgios Alcaraz much. Have they even played? I think they must have played at one point, but um, maybe they haven't. And like a match like that, for example, even a Kyrgios Sinner, we've seen that before. But I think that would be interesting with both of them playing their best tennis, and we know that he can beat Medvedev. He's done it before a couple of times. So look, I mean, let's see. Even Kyrgios Tsitsipas, let's see that go again. See Tsitsipas trying to hit Kyrgios on the net. That'll be hilarious. But yeah, I mean, he's an exciting player, so I hope he's back soon. But we'll have to wait and see. Ashley says, "Do you think Novak wants an Olympic gold medal for Serbia more than a Grand Slam?" Yes, that's my view. David?
Well, I think he's still very goal orientated. He's not been shy to say that. Um, I think he does go tournament by tournament, um, and we know his familiar spots where he gets his big wins. Australia, Wimbledon, especially the last decade of Wimbledon's. I think he'll be. I mean, we're taking it tournament by tournament, but I think end of the year, if you ask him, would he rather win, for example, if he wins Australian Open and that's it, and no Olympics, I think he would swap the Australian Open for the Olympics.
I reckon he would swap 2 Slam wins for an Olympics.
I mean,
I'll
the
tell you why.
26 though
Because
sounds pretty good.
yeah, but he knows there's going to be more opportunities. He's not going anywhere. He just won the last 3 out of 4 slams. So I would be like, I think he's going to be putting a lot of energy into trying to make sure that he's at his best level for the Olympics. I think he will play Wimbledon. I don't think he'll skip it, obviously, because he's so good there, and it's an opportunity to win a slam. But I think as soon as that's done, he's going into hardcore clay mode again, and I think he'll be going. I mean, look, it's the only thing really missing in his trophy cabinet, so he gets that, and I mean, well, let's be honest. I think he's already the GOAT anyway, but he gets that as well. Then there's nothing really for anyone to say, well,
That's a global
Rafa's
thing
got
as
gold.
well. The
Yeah,
Olympics is the biggest event I mean, I think it's probably bigger than the World Cup
yeah,
in most countries. Yeah.
yeah. Agreed, agreed. How do you think Emma Raducanu will do in the upcoming season next year? Just depends if she stays fit. If she stays fit, and I've seen on Instagram she's been training a lot, then let's see. I mean, it's similar to Leila Fernandez, although I think she hasn't had as many matches, hasn't had any many positive results as Fernandez this year. So for her, it's just going to be try and rack up some wins, try and get deep in some tournaments, and then build herself up from there. What do you think?
Yeah, agreed. Looks like she's on the comeback trail quite a bit, training. You just hope I saw her on I think she's number like 2 or something. Very very high on the top 10 highest paid. You just hope she doesn't kind of rest on her like plush pillow that she's probably bought. Just like rest on that laurels and um hope she puts in the effort to really go for it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Right. Okay. Next question. Da-da. Du-du-du-du-du-du. Lots of comments. Let's see. Uh, Hosep says apparently Andy Murray helped Kyrgios during a dark time in his life. Yeah, I've heard that. Did Novak win a medal in 2021 in Tokyo? No, he didn't, which looks like
Lost
it's
the
been answered in the
bronze.
chat. Yeah, lost the bronze
Yeah.
to Pablo Carreño Busta. Throwing his racket in a crowd. There's no crowd. They just threw it into the stands, which is quite funny. There you go. Here's a question, Max. Do you think Ben Shelton will avoid the sophomore slump for the upcoming season next year? I hope he can. What are your points, David?
I think if Ben Shelton, he'd really, if there was any kind of doubts of his possible level, I know he definitely ruffled some feathers with a lot of fans at the U.S. Open. It's very, I mean, you'll never see it again. A quarterfinal, no back-to-back wins, and then the semi-final at the U.S. Open. It's the most bizarre thing you'll see. But then after he backed it up, winning, did he win the 500? Is it Tokyo? I think.
Yeah.
So, I mean, albeit it's latter stage of the season, I think Ben Shelton is more equipped now with the confidence that he's built, knowing that he can last tournaments and he's not gonna just fall apart physically. I think he's not gonna fall victim to the sophomore slump. No.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And it's funny you're talking about his run of form and matches he'd won, and I'm pretty sure he was at win to loss record for his career at around even or even actually a losing record slightly. So yeah, I think he just gets given freedom really to do his own thing when he's on court, and yeah, it's a very 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 impressive victory in my opinion. I thought, I think as well when he starts facing some of the top players as well. Look, I mean, on clay it's going to be difficult on the slower surfaces, but on the faster courts, he's always going to be dangerous. And the good thing for him is that he didn't start the season that well, so there's not going to be much expectation or points to defend. Really, the biggest thing was the U.S. Open. That's right at the end of the year, so he can just expect to try and rack up some wins, see if he can make the second week at tournaments, and then go from there. But yeah, I think he should be okay. I think he should be okay.
He's not got much to lose, that's for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, he doesn't. He doesn't. Actually, did the mandatory tournaments change during an Olympic year? No, not that I know of. Not that I know of. Dev says Rafa has no points to defend this year. Does he? The Australian Open he does because he won one match, so he made a second round. But other than that,
Essentially
no.
none. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got 0 basically. Yeah. Mm, so have a good look. Next question. Actually, how is Emma going to play after being injured in 2023? Oh, I guess we answered that one. I mean, yeah, we'll see. I have no idea. No idea. What do you think?
Um, I mean, it's so difficult to like even visualize Emma playing tennis. It's just been so long, you know. You're kind of waiting for the when she was not injured. You're just waiting for the announcement that she's not going to play a tournament. And you think of maybe that run in Cincinnati where she really took apart some players. That was encouraging. You wonder if she can find that again. Hope so. Hope so.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. And again, throw in the mix, and it just becomes even more exciting for sure. Right. Okay. I've gone through that one. Yeah, step backhand isn't reliable. Okay. Oh, here you go. What are your thoughts on Russian and Belarusian athletes being allowed to compete as neutral athletes in the Paris Olympics in 2024? I mean, it's the same as any other tournament, so I don't really have a view on it. I think it's fine. What do you think, David?
I think it was very recent announcement. Um, I think there might be some pushback. There might be some protests from especially think of the countries close to the conflict, Ukraine, Czechia, Poland. There might be some people in protest, or maybe not, because we saw Wimbledon. They're just they didn't play, and that was it. And then they played this year, and they just didn't shake hands, and there wasn't much past that. I guess um, participation's participation. They're gonna play regardless.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think, look, politics, and this is just players who are athletes who happen to be in the profession, and they should be fine to compete. To be honest, I would actually say, which is quite funny, that even though, what was I going to say? No, I was going to say actually, ignore my thought. Right, okay. Yeah, well, what I was going to say actually on the Russian Belarusians is that, yeah, they should just be able to play, and I think at the end of the day, they're going to make the tournament stronger. It's going to be more competitive. I mean, Wimbledon, for example, last year without, like Sabalenka, for example, was very, very weird to see. And there's a lot of players, especially on the women's side, who are Russian and Belarusian. So yeah, I'm hoping that it should be fine, and it'll be interesting if they're neutral athletes. I guess they're really just playing for themselves then, because they win a medal, they're not winning the medal for their country. It is literally just for themselves. So yeah,
I do have some slight qualms. I remember last year when this all was going down with the huge news. Wimbledon have kind of gone against
yeah,
the ATP, bans the Russian Belarusian players. I um I didn't agree with the ban, but in terms of the Davis Cup, Billie Jean King Cup, I agreed with them not being able to play, because with country participation, as much as people um, defending the Russian and Belarusian players themselves like to say, it does get propagandized in the media. If Even if there's no like banner that says a Russian flag, Belarusian flag, it'll still be yeah, I think it will still be used. So it is controversial, and I'm not sure how it'll pan out.
no, that's fair. That's fair. That's a fair view to have on that. Okay, so I don't think I've got any more questions, but there was, I think, a question or two in the community tab, so I'll have a quick look. If you have any more questions, by the way, shoot them in. Otherwise, we'll give you 5 more minutes. If there's no more questions within 5 minutes, then we'll wrap it up. So, what was it? It was. Here it is. Oh, here you go. Venue says, who will win the Grand Slams in 2024? Any players to look out for? Well, I guess that's part of our awards, but we can ask. I can ask David. Right, David, what do you think? Just off the top of your head.
ATP Player of
Yeah, you
the
can do
Year.
ATP
What's
and
the
WTA. Yeah, both. Just give it a man and
um?
woman for Australian Open, etc.
Well, Djokovic is obviously. Oh, predictions or
Yeah, yeah.
for next year. Oh,
Yeah, so for the
oh,
slams, yeah, slam winners. You don't have to
Uh,
commit to it. It's just off the top of your head. Mine's going to be the top of my head because we're going to do the awards. But I'm probably preview 20. I'll do a separate video for the predictions actually. So it probably won't be the same. But yeah.
right. Australian Open, Djokovic for the men's, and for the women's, um, say Raducanu, Roland Garros. Ooh, so I got in trouble earlier, a few months ago with saying Djokovic is going to do something crazy, but I'm not. If he's focusing on clay and the way he beat Carlos, Djokovic for Roland Garros, and Swiatek,
Okay.
for Wimbledon, ooh, I think Sinner is going to win Wimbledon. Hope so.
Ooh.
For women's, um, hmm, it can't be Jabeur, can it? Just too
Wow.
too much scar tissue. Uh, Sabalenka for Wimbledon sounds pretty safe in my mind anyway. And US Open random winners. Uh, I'll go for Alcaraz and for um mm, don't even know.
Alcaraz isn't random.
Women's random, women's random. Uh, Alcaraz, Madison Keys.
Rather keys. Okay. Finally gets a slam. Okay. I'll go quick. So Australian Open. I'm going to go with. I want to say anything other than Djokovic, honestly, because I just feel like I can say Djokovic for all of them.
Such a boring
Um,
answer, but it was,
yeah,
yeah.
I'll go Djokovic. Fine, I'll go Djokovic Australian Open because I feel like that's almost like nailed on. It's almost like Rafa at Roland Garros. So Djokovic, Australian Open, and women's side, I will go with. I will go with. I'm gonna go for Pagula,
Oh,
and then which is pretty bold to be honest.
hasn't
And
made it
then
past the quarterfinal. Yeah.
she hasn't. And then Roland Garros, I will go for. Oh man, this is probably my Rafa fan coming out. But uh, can I really say Nadal? I don't know. I,
I mean, he's won it 14 times. You can say him.
I think I mean Nadal or Alcaraz. I just have a feeling that Djokovic. I would be more inclined to think that Djokovic won't win Roland Garros, but he'll win the
The
Olympics
Olympics.
than the
Oh,
other way around.
there's less pressure on him maybe if he doesn't win Roland Garros.
Yeah, and I
Maybe.
just feel
Yeah.
yeah maybe, but I just feel like he's. I would be surprised if he doesn't win the Olympics. I don't know why. I just feel although there'll be a lot of he'll be putting a lot of pressure on himself. To be fair, so it could be like a 2021 US Open scenario all over again, where there's a lot of pressure on him to do it. But yeah, so yeah, I'll go yeah Rafa or Alcaraz, and then for the women, really Swiatek's up there as always, but I'm going to go with
Cerebus Tormo.
Soma. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I'll go Swiatek's fine. If we go Wimbledon, I'll go women's first. Women's Sabalenka, I agree. I think she'll probably be. I'd love to say Jabeur, but I don't think she'll do it. Um, maybe she'll. We'll see. And then men's, I will go for. Oh, men's is just so random, isn't it? Apart from Djokovic, it's like okay, there's Alcaraz, maybe Sinner, as you said. Rune won't win Wimbledon. He's got. I can see him going really deep at Roland Garros. He's a contender. I think he could actually win it potentially. as well. I'm gonna go so left field. I mean, these are probably not gonna be my predictions when I do them, but I'm gonna go Hurkacz because we've been talking about Hurkacz, and then I think he's probably my
I
top
thought
5
Andy
pick of the
Murray was
tournament.
coming there, but
Oh no, that's too much. Sorry, David. And US Open,
it's not even in the field. That's like different
yeah,
country. That
yeah. US Open, I'm gonna go Sinner to win. I think he'll win the US Open. I feel like the US Open is just a random one. For the most part. So I know the last 2 years it hasn't been with Alcaraz was his first slam still, so it's not random, but he still won his first slam. Djokovic obviously won
has
it
Alcaraz opened
this
up
year.
the random Wimbledon winners now though? He's kind of cracked it open.
Uh, I don't know. I don't know. That's a good point. But then there's not realistically who's good enough on grass to win Wimbledon. Like honestly, I'd say Djokovic, Alcaraz. Okay, who else? If Nadal's fit, obviously he can, but he's got less of a chance, I think, than those two. Then
Yeah.
Sinner, maybe. Fine, okay. That's only 4 players. Her catch is definitely very good on grass. Could he
Nick
win it?
Kyrgios is back.
Yeah, that's the thing. If Kyrgios is fit, but I have no idea. So I'm not even thinking about Kyrgios because I don't know when he's
Hmm.
going to be back. I don't know if he's going to be fit. And that's why it's very hard to talk about Nadal as well because we haven't seen them. But yeah. So yeah, I'll go for Sinner to win the US Open. And on the women's side, I'm going to go for Raducanu.
Raducanu. Hope
Yeah.
she wins a slam this next year.
Man, I hope Jabel wins a slam next year. Forget about Rebecca, she's already won one. Yeah, but I don't know. We'll
It's
see.
true.
We'll see. Hozip says early predictions for Australian Open women's. Yes, no, we just gave them now, but yeah, I mean Australian Open women's is going to be really intriguing because I'm hoping if everyone's fit, it's going to be absolute carnage in the first like week. There's going to be some ridiculous matchups. I mean, hopefully, like someone like Mukova's fit, you chuck her in the mix. Then you've got Jabbar, then you've
Yeah,
got
we wasn't even thinking
Swiatek.
about Mukova. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm
it's just
saying.
her
Yeah,
injury records is
I know.
scary, sad.
Chuck her in
Yeah.
there. Chuck in Vondrousova. Chuck in Jabbar. Then you got Swiatek, Rybakina, Sabalenka, Gauff, Pagula. If Krejcikova's
One of
playing,
the
I mean,
Fruhvirtova sisters.
yeah, if Krejcikova is playing well as well, like she's up there,
Hmm.
so she needs to find form again. But yeah, the Provitova sisters, Anisimova is coming back, which is great to hear. Um, Look, if she's fit, she's dangerous as well.
I put a
I mean,
year-end number 5 this year, so I'm not falling into that trap again.
well, I mean, you can't really foresee that she's going to have yeah, a break due to mental illness.
Mm.
So yeah, shame, but good to see her back on the entry list. But yeah, I mean, even Badosev, I mean, the problem is though that stress fracture in her back. That's a bad one, I'm telling you now. I don't know when she's going to be back. That's going to be a recurring injury throughout her whole career. I'd be very, very surprised if we see her. I'd be surprised if we see her play a full season without any injuries.
I,
Honestly,
I don't know
like
about Badosa's peak level either. It's not really
well,
slam
but yeah,
winning. Mm.
Bedosa's peak level was interesting because she was such a decorated junior, and she was like the next big thing, and then she just didn't really handle it very well. But she she does have a high level. It's as you say, it's difficult to know because I haven't seen her play consistently at that level for long enough to really get a gauge
Not
of
at
okay, can
slams
he actually play
either
this?
as well.
Yeah, she hasn't. Yeah, she hasn't at all. But yeah, I think if I was to give a dark horse for the Australian Open, I'd probably say someone like maybe Fernandez or I think she could do something, or it would be another dark horse that I like. Let me have a look actually because there's always some plays. So I'm like, oh, Zheng Xinwen. I really like her. She's great. I think she'll go deep as well. And Oh, Samsonova actually is an interesting one. She's got a really good game, but she's just been a bit inconsistent. But she should do well. 2024, she should do. Da-da. Yeah, it's fine, no problem. Let's do the last few. Oh, here you go. Which Grand Slam do you think Sinner will win first out of the four? So you said you think Sinner will win
Wimbledon,
Wimbledon.
U.S. Open, yeah.
Yeah, I said the U.S. Open. So yeah, I would be surprised if it was Roland Garros, given the field, even though he's very good on clay still. Australian Open,
Hmm.
even though I think he's proven that he's quite good on fast hard courts, I just think they're more suited to some other players.
Yeah.
And if we go to is Badosa back for the Australian Open? Is she on the entry list?
The injury definitely took her out this season. I'm not sure if that is
She did come back,
what.
didn't she? And then she got injured
Mm,
again. I'm not sure if she's on the entry list, but yeah. We'll see. Max's Amanda lost her dad, who was her coach, who took a tournament, and Islamova, yeah. Well, that's understandable, right? That's understandable. Understandable. Um, okay, cool. Any other questions? Those will wrap up. I think David needs to go, so it'll just be me. So, David, though, thanks for jumping on. Appreciated. You can jump off, and
yeah.
I'll wrap up. But yeah, I'll see you in the new year probably, because I don't think we'll we'll chat before then. Well, at least on video anyway. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'll see
nice
you
being
then.
here. See you guys for
See you later.
the Australian season. Yeah. See you. Bye bye.
Oh, new health breakthrough. Okay, so what is your pick for the Australian Open? So my pick for the men's would be Djokovic, and for the women's, who did I go for on the women's? I've pretty forgotten now. I went for Pagula. Pretty random, isn't it? Very random. And Jean says, "I'm so tired, mate. I can imagine." Happy. Also, by the way, my picks that I'm choosing today are like I'm going to do a proper prediction video of the slams for the ATP and WTA side before the end of the year. Where I'll look into more like I'll actually have a look and see, okay, this is how well they performed on at this at this slam in previous years, and also win percentage on the surface, and actually think about more of the metrics on who they might potentially face, and yada yada yada. Obviously, draws a big factor as well, but yeah, those are my early picks, but we will see. They're always fun to do those predictions. In fact, I should probably do one where I know Cam did one as well, but doing one where I look at what my predictions were for 2023 and see if I got any of them right, which I don't know if I did, to be fair. Happy holidays. Yeah, thank you, Dutchy. Happy holidays to you too. Thank you, Fazan, and also thank you, David and Fazan. Much appreciated. No problem at all. Djokovic is going to be on 60 Minutes in America Sunday night. Very nice. And best answers, time will tell. News Health Breakthrough says, do your prediction for top 10 2024. Yeah, I will. I will. I did that last year as well. So I'll do a prediction for top 10 for WTA and ATP for 2024. I'll also do a prediction for the Grand Slams. And we have our 2023 QualityShot Tennis Awards that we are recording next. Is it next Monday? No, it's not. It's just the Monday after. So not this Monday coming, but the week after. It'll be myself, Gil Gross, and Cam Williams. We'll be doing the QualityShot Tennis Awards. We've got categories. We're going through it. I don't think it'll be live. I think I'll release it. I might have to edit a little bit, and then obviously timestamps and everything, and then upload it. and hopefully you guys enjoy that. But yeah, looking forward to recording that with those two, and it's good. Like we've done it for the last couple of years, and I feel like people have enjoyed it. So and they're both really good guys, and obviously know their stuff. So should be fun, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And it's 1:30 a.m. here in the UK, so I'm gonna go. But I really enjoyed this, and I do like. Yeah, I like these Q&As. So if you do enjoy these Q&As, then I would like to do them like once a month if possible, because I do find that sometimes people have questions and they might not ask it on stream because it's not relevant or it's not really a question at the time to kind of get into whilst doing play-by-play and talking about specific topics. But these are great because they're more broad and you guys can just ask whatever you want. The excitable Cam Williams, yeah, exactly. The excitable Cam Williams, indeed. Right, guys, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Hit that like button before you go. Subscribe as well if you haven't done so already. And I'll see you in the comment section of our next video. As I said, we've got some really exciting videos come up. Oh, actually, one thing I wanted to say is please, please, please remember to hit the notification bell so you get alerted for when we upload. But also, even if you click the notification bell, it actually doesn't make a difference if you don't have notifications on or enabled for YouTube generally. So make sure you on your settings you've got notifications as enabled, because if you don't, then it doesn't matter. You just won't get alerted. But I actually have. If I don't speak to you guys, happy holidays to everybody. You're all legends, honestly. Thank you so much. I'm sure I'll see you in the comment section for the QualityShot Tennis Awards. So it'll be worth a watch, I promise. Joseph says later geezers. Yeah, later geezers indeed. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Have a good rest of the weekend or weekend coming up. And I'll see you guys soon.